$2.7 billion. That's the estimated net worth of one man as of early 2026, according to multiple financial sources. Not a tech founder, not a hedge fund king, a team principal in Formula One. Before he ran the most dominant team in Formula One history, Toto Wolff was already making millions, but not the way you think. Here's the question we're going to answer today. How much of that fortune actually came from racing, and how much came from something far more calculated? Because when most people look at Toto Wolff, they see the man in the Mercedes garage, the composure under pressure, the 8 Constructors' Championships, the silver arrows. What they don't see is the 20-year paper trail of investments, acquisitions, and equity plays that made him one of the most powerful figures in elite sport. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. This is the real story of how Toto Wolff built his billions, move by move. Vienna, 1972. Toto Wolff grows up fast. His father, diagnosed with brain cancer when Toto was just 8 years old, died when he was 15. That kind of loss either breaks you or it sharpens you. For Wolff, it sharpened him. He started racing at 20, in Austrian Formula Ford and then German Formula Ford. In 1994, he won his class at the legendary 24 Hours of Nürburgring. Not bad. But here's the cold truth. He was never going to make it to Formula One as a driver. He knew it. And instead of grieving that, he did something far more interesting. He pivoted. In 1998, while most ambitious 26-year-olds were figuring themselves out, Wolff founded an investment firm, March 15. Then, in 2004, he started a second firm, March 16. Both were laser-focused on internet and technology companies during one of the greatest wealth creation booms in modern history. One of his early notable wins was a stake in a software company called UCP, which reportedly reached a valuation of around $275 million. He wasn't gambling, he was positioning. But the move that would change everything? It had nothing to do with software. It had everything to do with motorsport. And it's a story most people have never heard properly. 2006. Wolff acquires a 49% stake in HWA AG, a German racing company deeply embedded in Mercedes-Benz Motorsport DNA. HWA ran the Deutsche Tourenwagen Masters program for Mercedes. It built Formula 3 engines and the iconic Mercedes-Benz SLS-AMG GT3. Then, in 2007, Wolff does what private investors dream of. He takes it public on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. The initial public offering was valued at an estimated $175 million. His cut reportedly was around $85 million. $85 million, before he ever sat in a Formula One paddock in an official capacity. 2 years later, in 2009, he buys a 16% stake in Williams Formula One, one of the most storied names in the sport. He joins the board of directors. By 2012, he is executive director. He watches Williams take their last race win to date with Pastor Maldonado in Barcelona. Wolff is in the building, but his eyes are already on something much bigger. 2013. Mercedes-AMG Petronas Formula One comes calling. And here is where Toto Wolff makes the single greatest financial decision of his career. He doesn't just take the job, he buys the team. Well, 1/3 of it. His entry was a 30% stake, reportedly purchased for around $50 million. At the time, according to financial analysts, the entire team was valued at just $165 million. He believed it was undervalued. He believed in the car they were about to build. He was right. The turbo hybrid era begins in 2014. Mercedes doesn't just win, they annihilate. 8 consecutive Constructors' Championships, 7 drivers' titles in a row. Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, a dynasty that rewrote what dominance looked like in Formula One, and with every title, the value of Wolff's stake climbed. By 2017, the team was worth an estimated $695 million. By 2019, over $1.1 billion. By 2023, approximately $3.8 billion. By late 2025, in a reported deal where Wolff sold a partial stake to CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz, the team was valued at a staggering $6 billion, the highest valuation ever assigned to a Formula One organization. His initial $50 million is now worth close to $2 billion. That is not a salary. That is not a bonus. That is equity. That is ownership. And that is the single most important distinction between Toto Wolff and almost every other figure in elite sport. So let's talk numbers. Because in 2026, the income streams are multiple, and each one would be the envy of most professional athletes. Reports indicate, according to the Right Way Network, that Wolff earns a base salary of approximately $26 million per year as team principal and chief executive officer, and that figure is boosted by performance bonuses. For context, he reportedly collects an additional $200,000 for every podium finish the team secures, according to Boss Hunting. But the salary? That's almost a footnote. Since Wolff controls roughly one-third of the Mercedes Formula One team, he collects significant annual dividends whenever the team turns a profit. Recent financial filings showed Mercedes paid out around $134 million in dividends, meaning Wolff personally pocketed tens of millions as a shareholder, according to the Right Way Network. In 2024 alone, Mercedes-AMG Petronas posted revenue of $812 million, tops in all of Formula One, and Wolff earned more than $50 million in salary and dividends combined, according to Sportico. Let's put that in perspective. LeBron James has an estimated net worth of around $1.2 billion after decades of NBA superstardom and landmark business deals. Tiger Woods is approximately $1.1 billion. Roger Federer is roughly $900 million. These are legends, generational athletes. According to the Right Way Network, as of early 2026, estimates place Toto Wolff's net worth at roughly $2.7 billion. He never won a world championship as a driver. He never played in a Super Bowl. He stood on a pit wall. The asset was the equity. The equity was the team, and the team became a dynasty. But even that isn't the full picture. Alongside Mercedes, Wolff co-owns a sports management company with former Formula One world champion Mika Hakkinen, through which he managed careers of drivers including Valtteri Bottas. He holds real estate investments across Europe. He took a stake in Aston Martin Lagonda. He operated as chief executive officer of the Mercedes Formula E team, which won 2 world championships before he handed it over. This is not a man who put all his chips on one number. This is a man who built a portfolio and then made that portfolio intersect with the most glamorous sport on earth. So, how did Toto Wolff really make his millions? Not through a lucky break, not through nepotism, and certainly not through a racing career that peaked at a GT podium. He made it through a series of calculated bets, placed over 20 years, on himself, on companies, on an undervalued Formula One team, and on a vision of what motorsport could become. He arrived at Mercedes when the team was worth $165 million. Today, that same team is valued at $6 billion. He owns a third of it. And here's the thought that should stay with you. Formula One is no longer just a sport. It is a business empire, with billion-dollar franchises, global media rights, Netflix deals, and sovereign wealth funds circling the paddock. The cars are the product. The power is in the boardroom. And no one understood that earlier, or acted on it more decisively than the boy from Vienna who realized he would never be a champion driver, so he decided to own the champions instead. Now you know how the man at the top built his fortune. But what about the drivers who win his championships? How much do Hamilton, Verstappen, and the rest of the grid actually earn? We have done a full deep dive. Check out our video on how much Formula One drivers really make. The link is right here.